Contrary to popular perception, the state of Nevada is only desert in the southern region around Clark County, the Las Vegas metro area. Most of the state is covered by spectacular forested mountain ranges running north and south and rising to 13,000 feet. However, most of the geologic activity occurs west of the Sierra and east along the Washtag Mountain front of Utah. Therefore, there is no naturally occurring asbestos to be found in Nevada, nor has the state ever had an asbestos industry. Asbestiform minerals are the result of intense geologic pressure in the presence of carbonates. What Nevada does have is an abundance of power generation plants. One website lists over a dozen. This has been necessary to support the state's quickly growing population, which more than doubled between 1980 and 2000. It has also meant that more workers have been exposed to friable asbestos fibers during that time. The danger of power plants. According to the Center for Health Statistics, electricians, pipe fitters, boiler makers, and repair and maintenance personnel are among those industrial workers at greatest risk for contracting asbestos-related diseases. Data indicates that mesothelioma victims made up over 3% of the workers who die of work-related causes in these plants. For over half a century, asbestos was used as a flame retardant and insulator against both heat and electrical current. Wiring and panel partitions, as well as electrical cloth, were all made from asbestos materials. Asbestos insulation was used to pack electrical conduits, and many of the building materials used in construction of the facility itself, primarily plaster, drywall, and cement, contained asbestos fibers. The danger to power plant workers was demonstrated in a 2003 study by doctors in Puerto Rico. In this study, chest x-rays were taken of a large number of power plant employees. 13% of these x-rays showed some type of abnormality, even when cigarette smoking was factored out. Other asbestos job sites. Las Vegas is a city continually reinventing itself. There are few old buildings in this, the most densely populated region of the state. Nonetheless, asbestos building materials were commonly used in construction up through the 1980s, and many such products are actually still used. The Ban Asbestos in America Act phases out the manufacture, sale, and use of asbestos over a 2-year period starting in 2008. Asbestos-related disease, although relatively rare in general, does tend to affect construction workers disproportionately for this reason. Ironically, one source of asbestos poisoning was at the Concord State Hospital, where asbestos insulation was used in building maintenance facilities. There is also an oil refinery listed, Forland, which is located in Tonopah. Nevada actually produces a small amount of crude oil, which is primarily used to make diesel fuel. Data from the Agency of Toxic Substances and Disease Registry indicate that oil industry employees are among those industrial workers who suffer the highest risk of asbestos exposure. Because of its chemical volatility, petroleum nearly always poses a fire hazard. Therefore, a great deal of asbestos has been used in these facilities, in structures, pipe fittings, and even protective clothing. Mortality rates. From 1979 to 1999, there were a total of 154 asbestos-related deaths in Nevada, mostly from mesothelioma. Most of these were concentrated in the Clark County, Las Vegas metro area. Washoe County in Reno was second. Lander and Humboldt counties were at the bottom, with only a single recorded victim of mesothelioma recorded. This points up the relative rarity with which mesothelioma occurs. Taking the median number of people living in the state during the time, the mortality rate for mesothelioma still works out approximately 1/10,000th of the population, or 0.01%. Such statistical information is small comfort to those who have endured its agonies due to corporate negligence, however. Legal resources in Nevada. A search through the Nevada Federal District Court cases for asbestos-related personal injury product liability lawsuits brings up no recent lawsuits. Nevada is ranked 31 in the U.S. for mesothelioma cases. With a mesothelioma mortality rate of 15.79 per million, Nevada has a crude mortality rank of 11 in the country. Nevada has a number of known asbestos-exposed areas. These include the Harry Allen Station in Apex, the BioWave Power Plant, the Empire Farms Power Plant, Mojave and Laughlin, the Reed Gardner Station in Moapa, the Valmy Generating Station in North Valmy, and the Dixie Valley Power Plant and Soda Lake 1 and 2 in Fallon. Other known asbestos-exposed areas in the state include the Brady Power Plant and the Desert Peak Power Plant in Fernley, Clark Station and Sunrise Station in Las Vegas, the Caithus Power Plant and Steamboat Power Plants in Reno, Foreland Refining in Tonopah, the Pine and Pine Power Project, and the Tracy Generating Station in Tracy Clark, and Wabusca and Fort Churchill Generating Station in Yerington. Individuals living or working near these areas should be checked regularly for signs of mesothelioma in order to file any lawsuits within the state's statute of limitations. While many of these sites have been inspected and some have been cleaned up, anyone who worked or lived in these areas before asbestos contamination was reported can still be affected. Also, it is important to keep in mind that these are only known asbestos sites. Other areas in the state may also contain asbestos, but may have not yet been reported as such. One case that was important for asbestos laws and lawsuits in the state involved a Nevada worker employed by Nevada Power of Las Vegas between 1957 and 1964, during which time he worked as a plant operator at numerous power stations owned by the company. In his 2005 suit, Fisher v. D.B. Riley, it was noted that the plaintiff supervised shutdowns of the power plants, a duty which included overseeing the repair and maintenance of boilers manufactured by the final defendant, D.B. Riley. The boilers contained asbestos. The case was settled for over $2 million. Another pro-plaintiff case involved a man who was exposed to asbestos while working as a machinist mate, third class, in the U.S. Navy shipyards in Brooklyn and Philadelphia. The man was diagnosed with malignant mesothelioma at age 63. He visited Dr. Dan Sturman at the University of Pennsylvania in April of 1996, hoping to be accepted into Sturman's gene therapy program. A qualification requirement for the study was to undergo no surgery, chemotherapy, or radiation, which meant he had to decline talc pleurodesis, a procedure where the pleural linings are bonded together so as to stop the buildup of fluid in the lower lung linings. The man underwent a total of 14 thoracentesis procedures in which fluid was drained from the pleural linings via a needle or tube. After 8 months of treatment, the man died. His case was settled in 2000. In his case against the companies who exposed him to asbestos, he named a number of defendants, including Garlock Incorporated, Georgia Pacific, IMO Industries, Johns Manville, Metropolitan Life Insurance Company, Owens Corning Fiberglass Corp., Owens Illinois Incorporated, Rapid American Corp., W.R. Grace and Company, Worthington Pumps, A.W. Chesterton, ACNS, Amatex, Anchor Packing, Babcock & Wilco, Center for Claims Resolution, Combustion Engineering, Fiberboard, 48 Insulation, Foster Wheeler Energy, and the GAF Corporation. The settlement in total was just under $1.95 million. Those interested in filing lawsuits should know that the statute of limitations for personal injury law in Nevada is 2 years with a discovery rule that states that this amount of time begins when the problem, in this case the mesothelioma, either was discovered or should have been discovered. Wrongful death cases fall under the same statute of limitations and discovery rule. Nevada has no specific statutes about asbestos. Thank you for watching. This video was produced by Asbestos.Net, a leading resource on all aspects of asbestos and mesothelioma. Our priority is to inform victims about the devastating effects of asbestos exposure, mesothelioma, asbestos cancer, asbestosis, and other asbestos-related diseases, and to advise them with a wealth of information. Individuals whose lives have been touched by mesothelioma have numerous questions and concerns. Their caregivers and family members also need accurate, reliable information. If you or a loved one have been diagnosed with mesothelioma or asbestos cancer and need more information, we invite you to visit and explore the thousands of pages of oncologist-reviewed material on Asbestos.net, to call our convenient toll-free number shown below and speak with a mesothelioma specialist, or to use the simple contact form found at Asbestos.net to request a free copy of our informative books, custom inserts, and DVD. Asbestos.net. Information and help for patients and families.